Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition. I am your host, Ken M. Sitting across me this week is the one and only Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we have a lot to discuss, so let's waste no more time. Hashtag ODPHEE if you're on the social media, and we hope you join us in that conversation because, boy, we got some stuff to talk.
Boy, do we ever.
The big news of the week is San Diego Comic-Con is finally upon us here.
Con season.
It's always a big deal, and nobody does it bigger, arguably, than San Diego.
No, because the thing of it is while we do enjoy New York Comic-Con and the show that the folks down in New York put on, kudos to you, nobody does it better than San Diego, because if you are a fan of a TV show, if you are a fan of a movie that is coming out, comic book, video game, you name it, I'm laying odds it'll be there at San Diego Comic-Con, making news, making announcements. I mean, I'm just looking at their website here, looking at one day, Predator movie that's coming out is going to be there, the Doctor Who's going to be there, Marvel's, of course, going to be there, AMC's going to be there, Lord knows everyone's going to be there.
Folks, to break it down, if you're not too familiar with Comic-Cons, it is a place where you go to find out the latest and greatest in comic books, movies, TVs, video games, cosplay, anime, what have you. If it's basically a part of nerd culture, you are watching it if you're not attending it. And San Diego has been around since 1970 to be specific.
Yeah.
And Ray Bradbury and Jack Kirby was at the first one, I believe?
Yep.
How do you get bigger than that if you're talking?
I would say for your first convention and your first kind of featured guest speakers or featured people to show up, Ray Bradbury and Jack Kirby are not too shabby a first two to have.
No, that's a huge thing in feathers.
Yeah, it's almost like setting the bar a little too high because, okay, after Jack Kirby and Ray Bradbury, who do you go from there?
You would think, but as you see how it's grown since then, San Diego is kind of the gold standard, if you will, for Comic-Con.
And you would think when you hear the word Comic-Con, you would think it's all comics. It's, the writers and the artists and the, editors and just talking comics. And on the surface, that's true to a certain extent. You certainly do have the writers and the artists there doing their thing, but it's almost morphed into kind of this, I don't even know how you describe it. It's almost like media day for the Super Bowl on steroids because everything is there. Having a presence, getting announced, making announcements, making news. Like there's going to be an entire week where if you're a fan of nerd culture, you're just going, oh my gosh, this got announced.
And even if you're not so much, if you're just a fan of shows like Breaking Bad, there's going to be something there for you. There's going to be something, if you're a fan of the Wu-Tang Clan, Riz is doing a panel. There's always something for everybody at cons. And
a lot of times you're going to find stuff you weren't expecting. Oh my gosh, I'm into that.
No, because, I'll be honest. I've gone to New York Comic-Con. I've been lucky enough to go for the past 5 years. Shout out to Reed Pop and everybody working down at the Javits because it is always an amazing time. When I went there, I really didn't have an idea of what to expect.
Neither did I. I mean, the first year I went, I went down with you because I had the opportunity to go. And the one thing I was looking forward to was Star Wars Rebels was doing a panel and screening of the first 2 episodes of season 2. So that was kind of the one thing I was going into. I looked at everything else. I was like, yeah, that might be cool. I went into it with no expectations and came out blown away.
Absolutely. I mean, I did the same thing when I first went down, went to the first Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. panel, have gone since, and just to be in that atmosphere. And it's always just a cool time because you meet fans from all over the world that just are into the same stuff you are. You wind up making friends, talking.
So you're going to have conversations with total strangers about something, a shirt you're wearing, a piece of clothing you're wearing, a costume you're wearing that on your regular street, you may not have a conversation with that person.
No, you'll find some of the more interesting conversations you will hear at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And it's always a good time because everybody is always in a good mood. People are cosplaying, they're dressing up. You can see the amount of work that cosplayers put in, and it's something to watch because I know web channels like Beatdown Boogie and Sneaky Zebra, for example, they do amazing video packages.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done it in the past. I'm not sure if they're still doing them as much these days, but for those, I mean, they're always worth watching, and just to see how everybody really just embraces the fandom.
So I remember the one year we went, and there was the cosplayer who dressed in the full-sized, life-sized Iron Man Hulkbuster costume from the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And I looked at that thing going, that's insane. That's impressive. That's a lot of work. There's no way that can be topped. No, I was.
No, they find ways to do it. And I mean, this just shows how much fans are dedicated to the culture of, I guess nerd culture, however you want to define it. I just say if you're in the comics, you are into everything at Comic-Con, and it just spirals into TV, movies, video games, what have you. Like I said, I've gone to many New York Comic-Cons. Pad's gone a few times. Brad Guy Signal's gone. And just this year, we're even going with a bigger crew down to New York, so it'll be a fun time. But we are talking San Diego. Like I said, the gold standard, because for San Diego, they've been doing it, I want to say the longest. I'm not really fact-checking, but I'll say since 1970. I don't know anybody doing it prior to then.
No.
And they've grown it into now it is a multimedia event.
Yeah.
That you'll see, like, for example, Conan O'Brien's going to be doing his show or a show down there the entire week, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, yeah, and of course there was the famous story back in the day. That's where Lucasfilm sent Mark Hamill down to kind of get people excited about the Star Wars movie. And from the stories he's told, he had a hard time convincing people about that movie.
Absolutely. And it's just something that as it's grown on, it's become such an event. It just literally will dominate your Twitter feeds. It'll dominate your social medias if you're into movies, TVs, comics, and video games. And if you're listening to this show, you absolutely are. That being said, we're going to give you kind of a quick rundown of what we are expecting that caught our interest and expecting to make some big news coming out this weekend.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because there's some definite interesting stuff coming down.
Absolutely. Pat, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so looking at the schedule, of course, Hall H is the rather large hall. It's the biggest convention hall they have there. It's where Marvel has their big panels and blow everyone's mind that you never see the footage of legally. WB does their thing. I'm looking at that. The one that sticks out to me the most, of course, a couple weeks ago, we had our anime episode. One that sticks out to me is on Thursday at 2:15 p.m. There is a Dragon Ball Super panel. Now, for those who don't know, Dragon Ball Super was the anime series that spun out of the end of Dragon Ball Z. You had the two movies that had come out, both Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, that then spawned into Dragon Ball Super, which took place after the end of Z. And it's kind of on a hiatus now because they're working on a movie. No plans on what they're doing with this series yet. There's talk they might bring it back. We'll see. But the big thing with the movie is they are bringing back one of the most popular characters in franchise history, that being the legendary Super Saiyan Broly.
Okay.
Which the interesting thing with this is he's this, you Google an image of this guy. He is monstrous. He is big. He's powerful. And probably the line he's most famous for is just yelling Kakarot, which is Goku's Saiyan name. It's something that prior to this, the series creator really didn't have much to do with, because there's a couple of movies that came out that the series creator Akira Toriyama really had nothing to do with. Mm-hmm. He might have designed a few characters or what have you, but he really had nothing to do with. And Broly is one of them. But so this is his take on Broly. This is his look of Broly. I'm excited for this.
I gotta say, for this day, there was a lot that was jumping at me, and especially at Hall H. The Predator movie, Shane Black and the cast is going to be there to kick off the day at 10:30. And then they go right into the Doctor Who panel, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
Jodie Whittaker is going to be playing the next Doctor in the series. And this is the first one since Stephen Moffat and Peter Capaldi have left the series.
Yeah, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is the first time we'll be seeing her in some sort of capacity, or any Doctor in any sort of capacity, before we see him on TV, not counting her appearance at the end of the last Christmas special.
Well, they've already kind of done some teaser trailers that have came out, but I think this one is kind of be the real introduction to the new Doctor. I'm super excited to hear what's coming in the new direction they're going to be taking the show. And then going right from there, Pat, I know you got this one circled. Break it down for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, at 1 o'clock in Hall H, the panel I am arguably probably the most excited for. We'll see. The Marvel Games panel. Now, you might be asking yourself, Marvel Games, what are we talking? Are we talking card games? Are we talking board games? What are we talking? We are talking video games, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, coming out in September, I believe, Insomniac Studios' Marvel Spider-Man game, which is taking place. It's its own separate thing. I am very excited for this. I've got this sucker pre-ordered. It is looking like there will be every hero and villain in Spider-Man's rogue gallery in this video game. Now, for those who know video games, Spider-Man video games have had a rather, let's just say, interesting history.
That's putting it politely.
Politely. There's some hits. There's more misses than hits. This one is looking, from all intents and purposes, especially from the in-game footage that was shown during E3 this year, this is looking like a smash hit grand slam out of the park.
It looks incredible.
It looks incredible. Now, of course, you're also they're showing off that. They're showing off an upcoming VR game they're working on, a couple other things. And they're also teasing some unannounced surprises. Now, one thing I think that's going to be revealed is one thing that was rumored to be revealed at E3 but wasn't, is the often rumored, never officially announced yet, Avengers video game that's supposedly been in the works for a couple of years.
I'm surprised they haven't come out with one. I know it's been a while.
Well, I know they were working on one for the first Avengers movie. And in fact, if memory serves, you can go to YouTube and you can find gameplay footage of this. But for whatever reason, the history escapes me, because there's a couple of years in video games where things got messy. Studios closed. Things didn't work out. I think this is one of those instances. But they were working on one, but it just never came to fruition.
See, I'm waiting for like a return of a Marvel Ultimate Alliance, something in that variation.
You
I
never know.
The first one was great. The second one, Civil War, not so much, my opinion.
Right.
But I'm excited to see what they got coming out from there. And then going right into the rest of the day, Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad are doing a back-to-back panel, 10-year anniversary since the debut of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that 10-year anniversary Breaking Bad panel will be real interesting, just to see what they talk about, and possibly some stories we may never have heard.
Yeah, I'm super excited to hear that, because, I mean, like we've talked about in previous episodes, Breaking Bad hitting 10 is just so weird to think about, because it just feels like yesterday it was his last season.
Yeah. And the thing I'm hoping with the Better Call Saul panel is, Lord have mercy, I hope they announce whoever it is making their return to this show, because they keep teasing somebody's coming, but they haven't said who.
Yeah, I think you'll definitely find out. I mean, that's one great thing about going to Comic-Con. You're going to hear all the exclusives if you're in the studio or hall, wherever you're watching. You're going to hear everything. And that's and as a fan, to get those first news and you can finally break it, it's such a cool feeling.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So going into Friday, the big one for me at Hall H is going to be the Walking Dead panel. Now, with all the casting shakeup, I guess, has been
recent
leaked.
News.
Yeah, between Andrew Lincoln saying he's done after the season, Lauren Cohen, I believe, is leaving the season.
Well, it was reported he was leaving. He never officially came out and said
there hasn't been
anything.
like any official thing, but I know stuff has been getting leaked out left and right, or rumored heavily. So this one is going to be very interesting, and especially for us as fans, because if this is going to be the case and there's going to be a massive turnover, we're going to find out the direction the show is going in. Now, I'm wondering if they're going to be going into the Whisperer saga, which I hope they are, and maybe we'll hear about something getting leaked out. Or, like I said on a previous episode, I think they're going to have their own civil war between Rick and Maggie.
That'd be something.
And I think they'll take you right up to the midway point of the season. That one just strikes me as very interesting, because the fans are going to be rabid to find out who's staying and who's going.
They're going to be more rabid than the walkers in the show.
Absolutely. And The Walking Dead, if you've never been to a panel of theirs, is always an intense crowd.
I'll say,
very energetic.
Wasn't there the one year they were in Madison Square Garden for New York Comic Con, and they were introducing everybody? Oh, hey, Andrew Lincoln. Oh, Denai Guerrera. Oh, and here's Norman Reedus riding in on a motorcycle.
Oh, they do it big down in New York. So, I mean, San Diego, I can only imagine. I've been to one panel at New York, and that was intense. And that's actually when they introduced Abraham, who was acting like a fan in the crowd. And it was just such a cool moment. And, I mean, and the cast was always great to the fans, too. I mean, I remember Norman Reedus was, talking to everybody there that was in earshot of him and just signing.
He's always the top shelf guy.
Absolutely. Well, they all are. I mean, they've always been a fun panel to go to. So, I mean, for Friday, that's the one I'm more looking forward to than anything hearing about. I know Mike C. from I Am Horror is definitely going to be locked in for the Halloween and Glass one.
Yeah.
That it's going to be all about the new Halloween movie. He's going to be talking about on his Facebook page, I Am Horror on Facebook, so go check him out. He's going to have all the news you're going to hear about that. And for the M. Night Shyamalan trilogy, with the new Glass movie, I guess.
Yeah, that's looking interesting.
I'm really interested to see how they're going to explain this one and the direction they're going to go in.
Because I'm not a fan of every M. Night Shyamalan movie. I do like, there are some I like. I'm definitely going to give this one a shot.
Yeah, well, like I said, I saw Split. I thought that was incredible, and Unbreakable is just amazing. Like, to say how Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson pulled off a real-life comic book is just awesome. Go watch it if you have not seen it yet before the panel and get caught up, because I know whatever is going to get leaked out is going to be truly incredible. And then the other one that was jumping out to me on Friday, and I know we've talked about it a little bit, and there was some news about this movie as well. Sony Pictures is doing a panel.
Yep.
And the first pictures of Venom were actually released, I believe, to Entertainment Weekly, but
yes,
we did see them. What was your thoughts on that?
I like the look. It looks better than the one shot we see in the trailer where it looked like kind of an unrendered, unfinished special effects. I definitely like the look. You know, I'm still kind of skeptical about the movie, of course, of some of what came out from that Entertainment Weekly issue.
Yes, they've kind of confirmed that Venom is going to be in his own universe.
So, of course, every year, right before San Diego Comic-Con, Entertainment Weekly comes out with their Comic-Con preview special. It's a big issue. It's covering all the biggest stuff in entertainment, and one of the things that came out of this was that it was officially confirmed, and I know on this show we speculated a number of times whether Spider-Man would show up in this movie or not, because as even a casual comic book fan would know, Venom and Spider-Man are very intimately tied together in their history. And we were kind of wondering, well, how are you going to do a Venom movie without Spider-Man? Because there was rumors that he wouldn't be in this movie. And we were kind of thinking, you know, maybe it'll be something like you see footage on a TV screen of, you know, the battle in Infinity War or something going from Homecoming or whatnot. But it was officially confirmed that no, this is taking place in its own separate universe, and that Spider-Man will not be there in any way, shape, or form.
Which is going to be really interesting to see how how the crowd reacts to that, I guess.
Right, which, I mean, you can do a Venom movie by himself where Spider-Man is not there, but I feel like you could only, in my opinion, you could only do that after having established the character and set him up.
Yeah, which, if they're going to go that direction, and then as we talked about Jared Leto's tag to be in Morbius.
Right.
This is your groundwork getting built.
I mean, if I had to use a comparison, this is like trying to do a Two-Face movie without Two-Face meeting Batman.
And it's going to be interesting to see how they pull it off. But like I said, I saw the picture too. It kind of reminded me how Eric Larson used to draw Venom.
Yeah.
Which is a very high compliment, I think. Because I think Larson is up there with McFarlane as like one of the best Spider-Man artists going when he was drawing them. And it looked to me exactly like how he used to draw it. So I'm excited to see it. I mean, the movie has definitely piqued my interest. But they're also going to be talking about the new animated movie for Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes, which is, you know, I'm getting more sold on it every time I'm watching a trailer for it. And
I'm going to see it. It's just the thing that kind of throws me. And when I went to go see Jurassic World with Brad Guy Signal, I said this to him because there was a trailer for it in the theaters. And I think I don't know whether it was just the trailer or I hadn't realized it till now. The thing that's throwing me is the animation style. And it's specifically the background and the kind of the scenery. It's not so much, you know, Miles when he's running around or Peter when you see him. It's the buildings and the people surrounding him. And I said to him, you know, did we accidentally get the 3D showing? Because I feel like I should have my 3D glasses on right now.
It could be something that's more geared toward a 3D audience. I always say this if you watch Avatar.
Right.
That's meant for 3D.
That was filmed in 3D.
Yeah. I have the feeling it's kind of the same thing with this movie, that they're really going to try making it a 3D feel.
Right.
Which I think is kind of interesting. I mean, I never really have put a lot of thought into it, but it does make a lot of sense.
Usually animation style for animated things doesn't bother me. I don't really pay that much attention to it. It's just this was so jarring and so wait a minute that it kind of threw me for a minute.
Absolutely. So we are going to definitely be checking that out. Those are the first 2 days of San Diego Comic-Con. We're going to take a quick break and follow up about the next 2 days. You are listening to the ODPH Entertainment Edition.
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Hot lips touching, cool thighs feeling, shudder running up, her spine spinning, long dead
Coming back for the second segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition. Now, we've been talking San Diego Comic-Con, days 1 and day 2. So let's get into days 3 and 4. Pad, what's jumping at you for Saturday, the 21st?
Warner Brothers theatrical panel. Because here's the thing, Marvel will have a small presence there. They won't be doing anything big for the movies. They're doing mostly behind the scenes, showing off unseen concept art, props and whatnot. But they're not doing any big super, hey, we're revealing the timeline for our next phase. Here's some actors who are going to be in it. And here, by the way, here's a trailer that'll never see the light of day outside of this hall. So with that being said, the field is kind of wide open for Warner Brothers and DC to kind of run wild and show off what they got. Absolutely.
This is Warner Brothers DC's time to shine. Marvel Studios is not doing a panel, as we said. They're going to be focusing more on the comic books, the video games, and, it's still going to be a great time to be a Marvel fan. There's going to be a lot there to check out.
And I just get the feeling there's going to be a lot revealed that we know and we don't know at this panel, because if you look at the description on the Comic-Con website, it reads, quote, "Get a first look at the studio's highly anticipated future releases, films and special panelists, TBA." They're not naming anybody, which tells me, okay, obviously Jason Momoa is going to be there because Aquaman is coming out.
Yes.
It's very likely that you might see an Ezra Miller, for the Flash movie or what have you. But something tells me that they're going to make some announcements for movies coming out, and they're going to bring out some actors and actresses.
I think what you're going to see out of this panel from Warner Brothers for the DC, I don't know how you want to describe it, the DCU.
DCEU is usually how I see it.
Thank you. I think you're definitely going to see Aquaman because the promotional poster has come out and it looks awesome.
The promotional poster has come out, and then James Wan tweeted a photo last night of him in a studio working on the trailer. Mm-hmm. And it was an official trailer because there was a watermark on the projection screen saying property of Warner Brothers.
I think you're definitely going to see that. That's probably the safest lock of the weekend.
Yep.
I think you're going to see some teaser footage of Wonder Woman 1984.
Yep, because that is in progress filming.
And I think you're going to see some Shazam footage as well.
That's entirely possible. I would like to see that.
Yes, I think so. I know Zachary Levi's been working on that. There's been a couple photos that have been leaked out. And it looks interesting. If you follow the character, it's definitely one of the more polarizing, I guess, heroes of the DCEU.
Yeah, he's got an interesting history.
He does, because when he's written very well, like when Jeff Johns has written him, he's exceptional. And then sometimes it's a very interesting take here and there. But I'm excited to see the movie. I think that one's going to be a sleeper upon sleepers.
Yeah.
For as far as DC goes, because I know they're supposed to be so dark and gritty and hard boiled. That Shazam is not that character.
No
way. I think if you want a good throwback character, that is probably the most Superman-ish Superman movie you're going to see.
Yeah.
And I know I'm making up words. This is what we do here on the ODPHE. But I think that is probably your 3 safest bets to see anything leaked. I would be extremely shocked. This will be my lock and leap of the weekend.
Okay.
We're gonna do this like the sports show. My lock is Aquaman trailer. My leap is Joe Manganiello showing up as Deathstroke.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Now, the thing I've read is DC is learning and getting smart. From what I've read, there will be trailers shown. Obviously, there's going to be an Aquaman trailer there. Mm-hmm. But from what I've read and what I understand, it won't be you have to see bootlegged photo and video of it. From what I understand, the instant that is done showing in the panel, that'll be posted online.
And that's smart too, because
Marvel's gotten smart with that in the last couple of years, where they'll do that and people praised them for it. I remember there was the same year Marvel did that. They showed it, they posted it online, people praised them for it. DC did the exact opposite. They got lambasted for it.
Well, that's the thing. Comic-Con is meant for the fans. And if you want to get your fan base excited about a project, let them see it. Because some people are not lucky enough to get to San Diego.
Especially with DC's recent history with their movies.
Absolutely. Marvel has been so smart about everything they've done with their movies, and they've made it so fan accessible that they're winning. If you want to say who's winning between them both, they're clearly light years ahead of them right now.
Yeah.
It's not to say that DC can't come back by any means, but I think that this panel is going to be really interesting to watch because they don't have the competition this year.
No.
That they don't have to worry about another Avengers movie coming out.
No, you really, from the Disney side of things, don't have anything to worry about because Marvel is going to be there, but they're not going to be going, oh, hey, by the way, here's footage from, Captain Marvel. You know, here's footage from Avengers 4. They're not doing that. Lucasfilm, they really got nothing going on. They haven't even started filming episode 9 yet. Disney, anything they've already got coming out, they might show a trailer or something, but the demographic from Disney itself and Warner Brothers / DC is apples to oranges.
Right. And this is the time for Warner Brothers to shine. Aquaman, there's been a lot of positive hype behind it.
Yeah, from what I've read, the costumes will be accurate to the comics. They're being very faithful to Jeff Johns' New 52 run.
And that's been exceptional.
Yeah.
If you've not had the chance to read it, check it out. If you really want to see Aquaman done right. Because, I mean, he has a very unique relationship with fans.
Yeah.
Either you're all in as he is the, royalty king of Atlantis, or he's the guy that can talk to fish.
Or he's my man.
Yep. And Momoa is all about DC and making that the best universe he can. So I expect this to just knock it out of the park. Anything else is a straight up bonus. And I wonder, like I said, Deathstroke, everybody's been kind of quiet about, or Justice League 2. Who knows? Just something to throw out there. We'll see what happens. The rest of the day, though, it looks very interesting. Like I mentioned before, RZA is doing a panel.
Yeah, and the one that's interesting to me and stands out to me is going on at the Horton Grand Theater. They're doing a Deadpool 2 screening. However, this is not your theatrical cut of Deadpool 2. They're doing an unrated cut screening of Deadpool 2. Whoa, boy. I hope that gets released.
That should.
I would buy that in a heartbeat. I would buy that in a heartbeat.
On DVD and Blu-ray, at least, they definitely would do that. But that's going to be closing out the rest of Saturday for you. I mean, Saturday has just got a lot of very cool panels. Like I said, the RZA's panel is looking very cool. Entertainment Weekly is doing a Women Who Kick Ass panel. That looks awesome, too. There's just so much going on Saturday. And then let alone, I believe the CW is doing most of their TV show panels that day.
Yeah, so Black Lightning is doing one early in the day. It's around 11 o'clock. But then back to back, as you will, they're doing Flash.
The
Arrowverse, Flash, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl.
Yes. So for Warner Brothers, they got their Monster Day Saturday. So I think they're going to definitely put the exclamation point on San Diego Comic-Con. And then going into Sunday, the only ones that really kind of stuck out for me for Hall H was Supernatural is doing their panel.
Yep.
And they're getting so close to episode 300. And especially how they left off. I mean, it's the CW's longest running TV show.
Yep.
And getting near 300 is truly saying something for any TV show, let alone the CW.
So the one that sticks out to me is at 2:15 in Hall H, Legion is doing a discussion and Q&A, and in regards to the Q&A, I get the feeling there will be more questions than answers, because if you've seen that show, that's often how it goes.
Yes, Legion, the most awesomely visual show you're going to see on TV, whatever genre you watch.
Yeah.
Without question.
Yes.
And it raises a lot of questions, more than it answers, which is good, because that's what keeps you tuning back in. Then let alone, every comic book company is going to be doing something down there for San Diego Comic-Con. There's going to be something for everybody. The cosplay is going to be awesome. It's going to be off the hook. You're going to see so much on Instagram. It's going to be so worth checking out. And I guess, Pat, and just final closing, what do you think about San Diego Comic-Con?
It's one of my more favorite weeks of the year, simply because it is a week jam-packed with news that I am excited for, I did not expect, and gets me excited for stuff I previously wasn't.
For me, this is kind of the kickoff of what the fall season is going to be for TV. Next year, movie hype is already built in. This is, I don't want to say make or break for many TV shows and movies, but it kind of is. I mean, that's how important it is to have a great San Diego Comic-Con. But more importantly, it's for the fans, because this is the one that gets the most hype. Arguably, New York is up there too. But this is the one that you're going to sit there and you're going to see so much on social media. Mainstream media is going to be covering it. Obviously, if you're into the comic, TV, movie, video game media, they're going to be nonstop coverage no matter where you turn. This is such an event, but it's so much to the fans as a thank you for supporting. That this is the one that anybody who's doing a comic book, anybody who's doing a movie, a TV show, video game, this is their way of saying thank you by giving you the exclusives. You'll find only once in a lifetime exclusive items that they're going to be doing at this event. And it's just always a fun time to get together with other fans and interact. And, it's crazy to see what spirals out of there, that you're making friends all over the place. You're making connections. You're really just hyping up just being a fan. And that's just the whole basis of Comic-Con, just getting fans together and talking everything under the sun about comics. For more information on San Diego Comic-Con, visit www.comic-con.org. We're going to take a quick break. You are listening to the ODPH Entertainment Edition.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Toy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd be.
Coming back in time to talk some Cloak and Dagger on the ODPH Entertainment Edition.
Oh boy.
Folks, if you have not been checking out the story of 2 teens getting powers and trying to find out the world is coming after them in a hard way.
Say a coming of age story way sooner than they should be coming of age.
Absolutely. Freeform is doing it, and I will say this. This episode was the strongest one they've done for Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, without a question.
Without question. Olivia Holt and Aubrey Joseph just completely... If you were questioning why they were casted in the roles, this is the episode you watch.
Mm-hmm.
This was just a wild Run Lola Run / Groundhog Day /
Star Trek The Next Generation. The episode and season is escaping me, but I do remember there was one episode towards the latter half of the series where it was the same premise as what happens in this episode.
And as we left off last episode, the Tandy is now being an intern for Nina, who is working to kind of, you find out that there's a little more going on with her connection with Roxanne Oil than is leading on. And you find out that her dad, who worked on the oil rig that exploded, that gave the powers to Cloak and Dagger, is in a catatonic state.
Yep.
And last episode, Tandy was using her powers trying to awake him. And then the door to access, I guess, his mind was covered in the dark force field that was generated by Cloak.
Right, which this is, of course, a big thing because prior to her seeing this man, she thought everyone that was involved with the oil rig was gone and that there was no connections. But oops, surprise.
Surprise indeed. So now she is on a desperate attempt to find out more information about the accident, and her one-woman mission to take down Roxanne Oil is in full effect.
Say good luck to her on that one.
Absolutely. But as she's bringing Cloak into the fold to find out, they wind up going into, like I say, it's either the astral plane or into the mines. They have really not explained that.
Well, and it was interesting for this because they go there and Cloak thinks it's they're in the past and that they can't be touched. And that's then one of the workers on the oil rig comes at him with like a lead pipe or something and swings at him. And he's like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. And then you come to find out they're not in the past. They're in this guy's mind.
Yeah. Which, like I said, I'm not sure if they defined it as the astral plane or what the effect is going to be. I'm going to just say it's the astral plane because, you know what, I think the hot rumor is going to be it's the quantum realm.
That could be.
I'm just saying it's going to be the hot rumor. I'm going to say astral plane. If you got a debate about this, hashtag ODPHEE, I definitely want to hear it. But anyway, so they wind up going into Ivan's mind. That's Nina's dad. And he is in the office moments before the oil rig explodes.
Well, and of course, they have the flashback scene where he gets the cookie from his daughter. He goes off to work. Things are not going well. You know, there was some protective shielding or something that they were supposed to be getting that didn't show. So he wants to talk to somebody about it. He wants to meet with somebody. And that's when things go sideways at the oil rig. And of course, that's when things pick up in his mind.
Mm-hmm. And as Tandy and Tyrone are going through and checking it out, they're just reliving the same moment as they're trying to stop the oil rig from exploding.
It's a wash, rinse, repeat.
Yes. And so one moment that really stands out is the phone call that we found out Tandy's dad was making when the night of the accident was actually to Ivan.
Right, because it's such a nonchalant thing the first time they go through this time loop. You know, he just goes, oh, yeah, it's annoying. He's like, it's one thing I can control in this universe. I can't control the klaxons or the ringing alarms, but I can control this phone from stopping ringing. And then they find out the second time through that, oh, it's not just average Joe, what's going on up there, you know. No, it's her father.
No, and like I said, Olivia Holt is just killing it on the performance level.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I mean, this is her defining scenes right here where you just see the emotional range going through as she's now talking to her dad that she lost years ago.
I'm saying it's one of those scenes that if you have a heart that is beating, she finds out it's her father on the end of the other end of the line. That like your stomach just drops and you're just like, oh God.
Yeah. And just, I mean, talking with it, they realize that there's nothing they can do. So
No.
they say, okay, we're going to leave. And once they get out of the astral plane, Cloak is the only one there. Dagger stays.
Right, and the crazy thing with this kind of mind entrapment, whatever you want to call it, he's fully aware of what's going on, that he's in a loop. Because there's one point where he says there are two baseball teams playing, and they're tied like 1,000-something to 1,000-something in like the 60-whatever inning. Mm-hmm. And there's one point where he goes, oh, the Boston Red Sox just finally took a whatever 1,063 lead or something like that. So he's fully aware that he's in a time loop, but it's weird because his knowledge of what's going on and what's happened is only so far.
I think it's just one of those things that if you're ever in a horrific accident like that, you're mentally just incapacitated, and you lose that part of your brain. I mean, it's possible that he actually suffered brain damage in said accident.
Right, which I kind of figured.
Yeah, which I kind of figured
given
too.
You're on an oil rig that explodes, you're not exactly going to make that out okay.
Right, so that could be a factor that they're going to reveal later in the show. But going back to this, that they realize they're in a loop, and Ty has figured out, okay, Tandy did not come back, so he goes back to find her, and just she is refusing to leave. Like, she's now, I'm not saying happy, but she's at a place where she is, very content just talking to her dad, and just really not wanting that moment to end.
I'll say with everything she's been through over the course of her life and all the pain and all the suffering she's been through, she's found a temporary, and I want to stress this, temporary respite, a temporary calm, happy place where she can talk to her father, albeit it's not really him.
No, it's not. And then Ty throws the truth right in her face and then says, you know what, if it really is him, ask him a question. And when he can't answer, Tandy has just...
Well, no, he can answer, but it's not the answer she wants.
Right, because no, it's a very generic answer because it's not a specific one. And that just is the sobering effect up on Tandy that it's over. And we now have to go, okay, how are we going to get him out of here?
And the thing is time doesn't work there like it does in the real world, because when Cloak goes back into this plane, this world, he asks Tandy, how long have you been here since I left? Which admittedly, it's not long.
No, minutes.
It's mere minutes. She goes, oh, I stopped counting after 200.
Yeah. So there's just a lot more elements going on there that they really haven't explained. But I think that's the whole thing with the astral plane. That as long as it's in this MCU version, that is really kind of wide open and just how time is affecting there.
Yeah.
But as they're in there, Tandy remembers to the cookie story and then the ingredient, because as Nina was telling her about it, she reminds Nina's dad, and then finally he wakes up too.
So he snaps out of his trance-like state, if you will.
Yeah, so after hundreds of attempts, they finally have cracked through, and they finally figure out the way to free everybody, and that's get Ivan to the core room to turn off the valves and send everybody free. And this time we finally see Dagger throwing daggers in one of the more, BA action moments of the show thus far.
Well, and I think the reason for that was explained a little bit earlier in the episode, was when they first get there and Cloak is actually teleporting and having no issues doing it. Dagger brings this up and he goes, oh, it's much easier to do here. And I think the same would go for here. While she's still learning how to control her powers, it's easier and she has a better handle of it in that plane.
Yeah, and I think so. As she's now, developing her powers more, so she's getting more comfortable with it. And this is the first time you really see her let loose, which was really awesome to see, because now it's like if she's learning how to do it there, just wait till she starts doing it in the real world, so to speak. So they finally get to the core room. Ivan turns off the valve, and they all wake up, but Ivan doesn't remember them.
Which I kind of saw. I was shocked at first, but I'm like, all right, that makes sense.
No, it makes sense, and I think it really does help.
I just don't understand why he didn't start screaming for help. Like, hey, there are these random people in my room I've never met before.
Well, I think at this point he's been so catatonic that waking up, there's just so much going on that
that's true. It is information overload.
Yeah, the common sense thing is just out the window. And then Nina's reunited with her dad, and then Cloak and Dagger take off on their separate way. But Cloak calls Tandy real late at night,
like a little too late at night.
Yes, and just says he found this old recorder of his brother on it, and they have a moment. And I think now I'm not saying there's like a romantic thing they're kind of alluding to.
They're building a bond, I would say.
They're building a bond, and it was kind of cool to see that now Dagger has now let her guard down a little bit.
I say it almost reminded me of a Batman Superman type deal where while there are some members of the Justice League and superhero community that do know some stuff about Superman, they don't really know everything. When it comes to between Bats and Supes, they know everything about each other.
Yeah.
I looked at it kind of that way, that like they're building a bond. He's sharing something with her that is intimate that he has probably never shared with anybody else.
And now obviously being intertwined with their powers and such, that now they're really letting their guards down and they're really forming a friendship, and wherever it blossoms from there, who knows? Overall, though, this was probably their strongest episode they've had, without question, and this really demonstrated their acting ability. I was very happy Aubrey Joseph really got something to sink his teeth into.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, we've seen Dagger's story just dominate the show thus far.
Yeah, and understandably so.
And understandable. But I have been saying, Cloak really needs to get something to get him going. I think this was the moment that he finally was, like, established.
Yeah.
That now, and going into next week's preview, which I marked out on Twitter about, I am not ashamed to say it, he's wearing his cloak.
Finally.
Using his powers.
Finally.
We're getting somewhere where now, I don't know what they're doing for, costumes and such, but Cloak is finally, I guess, accepting his powers.
I would imagine it's something akin to what you traditionally see with Cloak, but a modern take.
Yes, which I'm excited to see where they go with it, because with 3 episodes left, there's really a lot of ways they can end the series for the summer. My guess, which we'll get into obviously as we've been covering the show every week, obviously there's going to be a final resolution between them and Detective Connors.
Right.
And whoever his tie is to Roxxon, we still haven't seen just yet.
Nope.
But we're going to.
I get the feeling that won't quite be resolved at the end of this season. I feel like that's going to be your tie into next season.
It should be. But there's a lot of different ways to go because, like I said, we don't really know what the direction is going to be. Is it going to be that they now decide they're going to be superheroes and what's the direction they go in? There's just so many elements they haven't gone to yet. But in overall, though, this has been such a pleasant surprise.
Oh yeah.
To see how it's been done. I've just been blown away by it because, like we said, we've been covering the show since before it aired, and really kind of skeptical to see how it was going. But this has just been such a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way I could describe it. It is easy to get caught up on, folks. If you have Freeform, check it out. If you can watch it where you watch your TV, definitely go check it out. We're going to take a quick break, close out this week's show. You are listening to the ODPH Entertainment Edition.
Hey, I'm Mike Pappy from Rye Bread, and you're listening to the ODPH.
Coming back for the final segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition, but Pat has some breaking news before we get into anything.
Yeah, and I'm going to peel back the curtain a little bit on this one here. Usually we record this show and the flagship show, the sports show. We get done, we finalize everything, we put the bow on the present, if you will. We get ready to leave, we high five, hey, see y'all, next time. And some breaking news happens.
Always the case. Always the case.
Case in point, Boogie Cousins signing with Golden State Warriors. We got done recording that episode, and not like 45 minutes later, he signed. But I digress. Breaking news for those of you who are into The Walking Dead. And those who are familiar with the comic, Yumiko has been cast for season 9 in The Walking Dead.
Really?
She is being played by the Into the Badlands star Elena Matsura. Now, of course, she is also known for several roles, including Into the Badlands, as I mentioned. She's also been in Wonder Woman. She was Hana Santo in Mission Impossible 5. And, of course, she plays Baron Chow in Into the Badlands.
That is awesome casting.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about this. This is probably going to be something mentioned at San Diego Comic-Con.
I imagine it was something that was going to be revealed at San Diego Comic-Con, but it got out.
And something got leaked.
Uh-huh.
Early, man. I tell you, that panel is going to have so much news, and that's a great addition to the show.
Yes.
Great addition. I'm super excited to see about that now. So, Pat, usually the comics, I'm usually breaking down a brag guide, but you have a recommendation.
I have a recommendation for comics this week, ladies and gentlemen, and it is not Star Wars related.
Write this down.
Yeah, mark your calendars, tell your grandchildren about this. I picked up a comic book at the recommendation of somebody I know online who said, listen, if you want to get into Spider-Man, if you are looking for a great Spider-Man story, this is the one to pick up. This is the one fans have been waiting years for. I picked up the #1 reissue of The Amazing Spider-Man, and boy, oh boy, am I excited to see where this goes from here.
Break this down for me, Pat.
So the interesting thing this starts with is this starts in kind of Control A deletes everything from the most recent run. No longer is Peter Parker running Parker Industries. He is no longer the science editor at the Daily Bugle. You know, he is no longer in the good graces of sorts of his Aunt May. What happens is he's got everything going for him. He's got his, he's the science editor at the Daily Bugle. He's got this, he's got that. And he goes to his alma mater because they have got some news to report. They got something to show off. And him being the science editor, he goes, and he's also an alumni. So he goes down there, and come to find out, they've come up with a technology to tell when a student has plagiarized something. And they go, you know what, we're going to show you off this equipment just to prove it works, and we're going to use one of our more illustrious alumni, Peter Parker. We're going to scan one of his papers and see if he wrote it or not. And what paper did they happen to choose? They happened to choose a paper that he didn't write, but one that Dr. Otto Octavius wrote when he was possessing Peter's body. So the fallout from this is he loses his degree from the university. He loses his job as the science editor at the Daily Bugle because what Robbie tells him is, listen, while this isn't anything you did at the Daily Bugle, it's still not a good look for one of our editors to be accused of plagiarism. Mm-hmm. He tries to prevent his aunt from finding out because he goes to visit her in much like, a teenage fashion, he gets the newspaper before she can read it. But the one curveball in this whole scenario is she finds out anyway.
Man.
So you go from there. The ending I won't spoil for you. It is something that if you are a Spider-Man fan is something you have wanted to see for a while. And the little bonus preview they give afterwards, I won't spoil for you. You're going to have to go read it. I know Ken's read it. Boy, I'm excited to see where they go with this.
I tell you what, coming off the incredible run that Dan Slott had on the book, Nick Spencer and Ryan Otley, who's joining over from Invincible, from Image Comics, this is a great team up on the book. I'm super excited. I read the issue as well. I'm going to say this. The direction they're going to go in is very, very interesting. For me, being an old school Spider-Man fan, to see how the issue ended on both fronts with the backup story and the regular issue, I got my theories. Mm-hmm. I want to wait before I start dropping them.
Because if memory serves, this is going to be a bi-monthly run.
I don't know that for fact, but it quite possibly could be. They're doing so much good stuff now over at Marvel. Like, they've really, since they've done the editor-in-chief change, have really stepped up their comics game a lot. This issue is definitely something to check out, especially if it's a very classic Spider-Man story.
Oh, absolutely.
But I will tell you this, the ending, without giving too much away, to see how it does and what that usually transpires to, I want to see how Nick Spencer writes it. I really do. I might be looking too much into it.
Maybe.
Because if you know the characters involved, it's usually you have a certain reaction when they're around each other.
Yep.
I'm all for it because I am very pro that couple.
Mm-hmm.
So And if they kind of do some, I don't know if they're going to be retconning anything else in the Spider-Man universe. I'm very, very eager to see it.
I'll say, because there's also one thing at the end, again, won't spoil it, but you see it happen. You're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Oh.
Yeah, once you put some thought into it, if you really been reading Spider-Man over the years, there's a lot of theories I can go with. I don't want to spoil it on the show. I really don't. I'm going to hold off for a couple more issues, and then I will give a full Spider-Man rant.
Yeah.
If this comes to fruition, but I don't want to say I know anything just yet. So going into my one-shots, just a couple quick things. Filming, I believe, is all set to go for the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie.
Yep.
Which I'm sure we'll hear more about from San Diego Comic-Con as well.
Probably during that illustrious WB panel.
Yes, I really don't know what to make of the movie idea yet, because
I'm skeptical of it as well, because as anyone who knows, Joker's origin has never been quite nailed down. It's been several things over the years.
it has been anytime you kind of deal with, a backstory such as the Joker, which is really hasn't been defined. I mean, I guess since Alan Moore's Killing Joke. That you really tread on thin ice, I guess, if you're really going to go to that story. I know that there's the book coming out about the three Jokers.
Right.
At some point, I believe, in the next calendar year.
Yeah.
So anytime you're kind of dancing around that, it's always, high risk, high reward. If they decide to do Killing Joke as the movie...
Boy, that'd be ballsy.
It'd be ballsy.
That'd be ballsy.
I'm going to make another leap, because I think that's probably the only one you could go with.
Because that is controversial from when it came out.
There's so much involved with that one, yeah.
It's arguably, I would argue, one of, if not the most well-known and famous Batman stories in history.
Oh, without question.
Obviously, when you start talking 1, 2, 3, you're talking personal opinions, but it's in there.
It's in the conversation. It groundbreaking for its time, controversial without question. But if you're gonna do a Joker story,
yeah,
and you're gonna make a movie,
I'll say if you're gonna make a movie and you're kind of looking to dispel the doubt and the questions people have surrounding the DCEU movies, go for one of the biggest stories they've had in their history.
Boy, I tell you, that would be something if they're doing it. Now, I have not heard anything from
No,
Plot.
neither have I.
This is just my unofficial ODPH guess. So let me know what you think on social media, because I'm saying it's quite possible. Speaking of the DCEU, Birds of Prey had their lineup announced for their movie coming out.
Yeah, of course, this comes exclusively from The Wrap and Humberto Gonzalez El Maimbe on Twitter. This got revealed today as we record that they're doing a Birds of Prey movie. Now, of course, for those of you who've kind of been keeping up with the DCEU, that's something that Margot Robbie has wanted to do. She's been kind of campaigning for it. Well, they're doing it, ladies and gentlemen. It will feature Black Canary, Huntress, Cassandra Cain, and Renee Montoya.
Love the lineup. Absolutely love the lineup. The only one that I didn't hear was Barbara Gordon, but I don't know if they're going to... Depends on what Birds of Prey they're going with, but I love that lineup, though.
Of course, in addition...
Super excited about that.
And of course, in addition, The Wrap has been told that the villain in Birds of Prey will be, quote, a Batman comics villain who has never appeared before on the big screen.
Well... That's got a lot of possibilities.
There's a few guys.
There's quite a few. I mean, I could see it being Penguin's been done before.
Penguin's been done. Two-Face has been done. Riddler, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy.
I doubt it would be Hush.
No, it wouldn't be Hush.
I doubt it. Could be Black Mask.
Yeah, that'd be good. I know the only thing big recently within the last decade or so was, if memory serves, he was the villain in the Batman Arkham Origins video game.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if his alter ego was in the Dark Knight mentioned.
It might have been one of those like Easter egg references that like you had to actually see to catch.
For some reason, I'm thinking that. But I could be completely wrong. But I'm just even trying to think who else would be used that they haven't gone in that direction. I mean, right. I don't think there would be anything currently from the Tom King run. No. I will tell you this: I will mark out like nobody's business if it's the Court of Owls.
Oh my God.
I don't think you want to be around me in a theater if this is the Court of Owls.
Oh, I'll do it. I'll report back on it.
Yeah, I fear that there'll be some IG stories from the ODPH website if this is Court of Owls, because if you've been listening to the show by now, you know how much I'm a big fan of the Scott Snyder Capullo run and Court of Owls. All right, I got to switch subjects because I'm going to just start fanboying out. But I do love that lineup, though.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
and
for Birds of Prey.
Of course, the Wrap is also reporting Kathy Yan is set to direct. Of course, she is best known for writing and directing her feature debut, Dead Pigs, which took home the World Cinema Dramatic Award for Ensemble Acting at Sundance earlier this year. So if you win an award at Sundance, you're doing something right.
Absolutely. I mean, DC, hey, if they're going to make the run, now's the time.
Which, of course, this would also be the first Asian woman to direct a DC film, which is big. And, of course, Margot Robbie will be a producer on this movie.
That's awesome news. Top to bottom, awesome news. The last thing I got for this week is Jeremy Renner was cast in the new Spawn movie.
Oh, so now we know where Hawkeye ended up.
Yeah, he wound up going to Image.
Yeah, he got tired. Oh, you're not going to use me in the movie? Bye, Felicia.
Very interesting to see. Really kind of curious where the direction they're going to go with the movie, but if they're going to do Sam and Twitch as the detectives, that makes sense.
I want to say, I get the feeling Todd McFarlane is going to be more tight-lipped on this movie than J.J. Abrams was about The Force Awakens.
And obviously, if you're going to do a reboot, and I know he is definitely, this is going to be his vision of the movie. However you want to do it from top to bottom, this is going to be his project, and there is no chance that they're going to fail about it.
No.
Like, none. That this is going to be the defining moment for the character. If they don't get this right, you'll never hear from Spawn again.
No.
I would imagine.
This would be the proverbial nail in the coffin.
No, but McFarlane is going to take his time doing this. The casting, they've been spot on thus far. So you know that they're going to definitely bring it with this. And to stand out, I mean, I know with Image is doing a lot of moves with their characters, from the original 7 creators. I know that Valiant Comics is making a lot of moves too that really they're starting to generate some buzz, but when Valiant gets going, they're going to be doing it too. It's such a cool time to be a comic book fan because you're seeing it in all forms of genre. You're going to be seeing it this weekend at San Diego Comic-Con, so if you're down there, shoot us a line on our social media. Let us know how the con is going. We definitely want to know. And that's all we got for this week. So for Padawan J,
thank you.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition. We'll see you next time.